Blog Talk Radio.
Hey there! Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Well, happy Music Monday, everybody. It is May 11th, and you're listening to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, the crazy mother-daughter travel team. We're the publishers of Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine and Parks and Travel Magazine. And as we travel, we are, the Love Your Parks tour, going to parks and communities across America. And today we are broadcasting live from Yerington Inn, which is right in the heart of downtown Yerington. We got 3 casinos around us. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
We're actually right off the Pony Express National Historic Trail. We're on the California National Historic Trail, and it's beautiful out here. We went out in the park this morning. We went hiking with Kristen Sanderson over at Fort Churchill and Buckland Station, which is part of the Nevada State Parks. We went hiking, and it was like awesome. We saw vultures and magpies and roses,
snakes.
Wild roses, and snakes. Yes, don't
sorts
freak everybody out. It was cool.
No, they're harmless snakes. They're
harmless,
little gopher
harmless
snakes. They're very
gopher
cute.
snakes. We did learn that a gopher snake mimics a rattlesnake, and they eat them, but they mimic a rattlesnake.
They take them out.
They shake their tail, and that's what we're going to do. We got good music today. We're very excited. We're going to St. Augustine by way of Yerington, Nevada. See, we could do it. We'll go through. Yeah, we're going to St. Augustine, the oldest city in America, and we need to get out there, man. We have a featured guest, is internationally known musician and music industry veteran Rick-Levy, and he is joining us to talk about his music, performing with and managing people like the Box-Tops. Talk about Hermans-Hermits, right? You remember them, right?
Yes,
also,
I do. I saw
The
them.
Limits.
Like Ed Sullivan's show.
Oh, you remember? See, you're getting right back into that. Yeah. Oh, Bo Diddley's in there somewhere. We got to talk about that. Tommy Rowe. So anyway, he's joining us to talk. He's got a memoir out. I dig this kind of scout on memoirs, especially music ones. High in the mid-60s. How to have a fabulous life in music without being famous. And he's out. He's touring around with the Box-Tops now. We had Bill Cunningham on the show a couple of years back, I think, Nancy. I can't keep track of time, but we had a good time with Bill. And now you all know the song The Letter, right?
Yes.
So we're going to play that. And, Rick got his start with the band called The Limits. And this was up in Allenstown, out in Pennsylvania. And the music has been, researched out in the 80s, came back again. It's out through Cleopatra Records. They've got 2 albums out, Garage Nuggets 65 to 68. Cool. And also the other one is Songs About Girls. And I'm telling you, Nancy, you and I know about having garage bands, right?
So
this is like awesome. This is good.
So much fun.
I have to watch my language, huh? It's good stuff. So I dig it. So here it is, everyone. We'll get Rick on the show, but first take a listen to The Letter. Again, it's from The Limits playing this, and it is off of their song Garage Nuggets 65 to 68. Keep up with Rick at ricklevy.com. That's Levy. I still want to say Levy, but I'll behave myself. So here it is, The Letter. I'm getting there. Something happened. Here it is.
Well,
told you we're going to be shaking some tail feathers, everyone.
That's
That is
it.
the letter. Welcome to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa here from Big Blend Magazines, and that was the letter, obviously written by the Box Tops. You know them from the Box Tops, but that was the Limits performing that, and that's off of their album Garage Nuggets 65 through 68. It's out now. Cleopatra Records has done it and reissued it. And we're excited to have Rick Levy joining us here today, who performs and manages the Box Tops. He's performed and managed bands for all the mid-'60s, and he's got an album out with the Limits, the two of them, Songs About Girls, Garage Nuggets 65 to 68, and recently his memoir is out. It's High in the Mid-'60s, How to Have a Fabulous Life in Music Without Being Famous. Of course, you can get it on Amazon, but I say go to his website, ricklevy.com, and that's Levy. Rick, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm still laughing from hearing the letter. I thought you were actually going to play the Box Tops version, and but
No.
and you played that, and it brought back. I know exactly where it was when we did that. I remember it was a teen nightclub in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It was the summer of '67 when the song came out, and we had done. It was the last night of a 5-night run that the Limits had played. Back then, we were ages probably in the band from 15 to 18 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so really amazing.
But this kind
really.
of band, going out and doing gigs and having that kind of band, it's like everybody's like, it sounds having a good time, but it kind of reminds me of the Beatles in a way, almost like we all live in a submarine at the end with all the sounds from everybody going crazy out there.
Well, and we did. We had a huge fan base. I mean, back then, it's I talked to a lot of young musicians. Matter of fact, there's a band in England that I'm probably going to end up doing some management work with, and it's very hard to describe. They don't get it that back in the '60s, every town, big town, little cities. In our area, we had 7 or 8 strictly under 21 night spots for kids. No alcohol, no nothing. So it was just all junior high school and high school kids dancing, having Coca-Colas, having snacks, and just having a great time. But there were so many good bands in every town. I mean, it's amazing. And, the Limits, and I've said it a million times, at different award ceremonies and stuff, without the Limits, who are still my best friends in the world. One guy passed away, but everybody else is still there. Without the Limits, I would not have had a career in music. I love those guys. I was just up in Allentown in October, and we did 2 sold-out Limit shows. It's crazy. Yeah.
That's the thing. I know when we started our band out in San Diego years ago, and it was, we kind of that garage bandy thing, and we performed street fairs and all kinds of places, Sometimes you're playing in the street, whatever happens. But there's this camaraderie of the band getting together. There's, there's drama. There's always a little drama somewhere. But there's that, we're going to make it. We're going to make this happen. And how do we get our originals in there? And I love the Limits because it takes me back to just, growing up and having that music dream, but getting dirty with it. And just, there's a rawness and an energy and a freshness as well. There's kind of like, as we all age, we start to go, no, we can't do that because we've learned this lesson before. But as a young band getting out there to do stuff, it's kind of like the sky's the limit, man. And you can feel it in the music.
Yeah, and it's very, very interesting that we just did Box Tops just did a big webinar the other night, and we didn't really talk about yet. The next webinar is going to be about mostly with Bill and Gary about the Box Tops, the original guys, how they really exploded. But this was all our early influences, and how even though there were different guys from different parts of the country, so many of the influences are the same, and one of the beauties of the current version of the Box Tops is that spirit of camaraderie and raw energy is there. And I have not experienced that with a lot of the 60s acts that I've worked with. This is it's really a dream for me to be working with those guys. Yeah.
That's awesome. And getting
yeah.
and writing a memoir. I always geek out on music memoirs because you start to learn. It's like a cool way of learning music history. So how did you decide? Oh, I'm going to do a memoir. Was it like a personal? Did you write things down throughout your career, or
well,
how do you remember?
You know what happened? I had virtually no recollections of my early childhood. I mean, my real early childhood, like 5, 6, 7, 8, that age. And when I was, for 3 years, I was Peter Noon's band leader with Hermans-Hermits.
Mm-hmm.
And, Peter plays incessantly. I mean, he's still like the hardest working guy in the world. We just did some dates with him in Florida. And as we flew a lot everywhere, and I just started journaling because I wanted to know, how did I get from here, from being this kid in Allentown who just fell in love with rock and roll, but also fell in love with the business part of rock and roll, because I was always the manager. I was always trying to get the deal. I wanted to learn how royalties worked, how publishing worked. And I started writing this and writing it. And one notebook became another notebook, became a third, became a fourth. And then I would talk it over with the guys and it would be, you have a really interesting story here, Rick, because it's not just about music. It's you ended up being a single father and still being able to play music, and
wow.
you took time off, and I did the whole Eastern thing with meditation, which I still do, and that was kind of spawned on by the Beatles going to India and all that stuff. And but it wasn't until about the book came out in the beginning of 2019. I didn't want to self-publish it. I just felt that, no, if it's a good enough book, I should be able to find some publisher. And I did. It took a long time.
He's after
publisher
the deal.
up in Carolina. Yeah. A small little deal with a publisher in Carolina, and then a friend of mine from up in Allentown, who's a medical editor, a great writer, great singer too. Peggy, she said, well, let me look at it and see if I can clean it up. And she made it really readable. So, and now it's like, I mean, I'm not getting rich from it, but a lot of people are buying it and,
cool.
and enjoying it. And there's a lot of, the title says it all, how to have a fabulous life without being famous. Because I was always, with all the acts I played with, Peter, Tommy Rowe, the Tokens, Freddie Cannon, Jay and the Techniques, Bo Diddley, the Boxtops. I've always been the bridesmaid, not the bride. I'm not the bride, I'm the bridesmaid. But somewhere along the line, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think you have more fun that way in a way. Sometimes it allows you to kind of not have that camera in your face all the time. You know what I mean? There's
absolutely. And I loved the job. I loved the job of making it easier for the headline people, whoever they are, because that meant I knew I was doing my job well. And one of the things was, I mean, there's always going to be a better guitar player. There's always going to be a better singer around the corner. But I kind of, and this was, as I got a little older, not in the early period of the Limits, but around the Songs About Girls period, which was in the early 80s when we regrouped and we were writing everything. And you've heard some of it. It's obviously distinctly well produced and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I got this flash of inspiration or whatever it was that, well, if I can mold myself into someone, a matter of fact, gave me the title of like, hey man, you're like the perfect utility infielder in a band. You can do everything. You can be the tour manager.
Yeah.
You can handle the finances.
Yeah.
Like in the Boxtops, I manage the band. I liaison with the agency and the buyers. I play guitar. I play bass. On some songs, I play ukulele and I sing. So it's like, it keeps me out of trouble, I guess, So,
well, I think there's something you're talking to Nancy and I here that are the blend, and everybody told us don't be variety. You need to focus on one thing. I mean, we have two magazines. One is all about parks and nature and history, and then the blend, which you will be in, the next issue of the Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, is a variety. It's about quality of life. Because why
There
should
you go.
only learn to one thing? Why should you only listen to one style of music? That to me is crazy.
Exactly. And I mean, we all go through different periods and different eras of music, and it was interesting that even though I'm not an original member of the Box Tops, my first, as a kid, now I'm talking about 6, 7, the first 2 records that made my life go into colors from black and white were from Memphis, were Hound Dog from Elvis and Great Balls of Fire from Jerry Lee Lewis. And that, and funnily enough, years later when I was managing them, before I was playing with the Box Tops, Alex Chilton, the original singer, heard the early version of Garage Nuggets before it was all compiled, and he said our version of Susie Q was the best one he ever heard. So
it's a cool version.
So it's like this weird karmic connection, and I mean, Bill and Gary and I and Ron and Barry and Mike, the other guys, we're all super good friends, and the idea of authenticity, because we all hear a lot of bands that just kind of phone it in. I mean, they're playing the songs, they sound kind of like the hits, but there's no energy coming off. And we're finding that, especially when we play like smaller venues, like clubs and stuff, which is probably going to be the new norm after with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
We're finding a lot of younger people coming to our shows now. And that's really exciting to me. Matter of fact, there's a young singer, you may have heard of her. She's really, got millions and millions of streams. A singer called Haley Reinhardt, and she's brilliant. She, which right now she should be on her 3rd headline tour, but that was canceled. But she was on our webinar because she covered a version of The Letter on an album she did a year or so ago.
Please.
And it's great. It's great. So it's like, once you start pigeonhole yourself, oh, I'm an oldies actor, oh, I'm this or I'm that, it's like, you're really, no pun intended, you're really limiting yourself.
Exactly. See, that's it. Like, every time we try to do the pigeonhole thing, number one, it boring.
Doesn't work.
And you lose that that's why you have spices, so you can change up. You cook a potato, put a little chili on it one night. Take the same potato, put some garlic on it the next night. It's a different thing. And if you have the same thing every night, it gets boring. And music reminds us to open up, and that's I have to tell you, listening. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, listening to The Limit, I love the energy, and I love listening to some of my favorite songs, like Little Red Rooster. The first time I heard it was the Doors version of the live version of the Doors. And I was like, dude, this is some crazy stuff. And the Little Red Rooster has been done in so many different ways, and I've heard some really naughty versions. But this has got
right.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, what, now you're 15 to 18 years old and you're singing that song? Uh-oh.
Well, you see, the thing is, we were playing, and I don't, and when I say we, I mean not just us, but in our town, I know Bill, Bill's first band back in Memphis, the Jinx, and Gary was in a band called the In Crowd, and we all have these bands all over the country. But the beauty of it was, we played more. Young bands played way more than young bands play now, because there were fraternity parties every weekend. There was a dance at the high school after the football game. There was, there was dances at the pool, swimming pool parties in the summer. Then all those, the under 21 nightclubs, and so you had to really kind of, hone your craft. And one of the things that I'm kind of proud about on that Garage Nuggets, and I really thank Cleopatra, because they're a really cool label out in California.
Yeah,
they do all kinds of, they're very interesting stuff. And Ken Teague there, we talked about this, and he said, well, Songs About Girls is really cool. I mean, that's really good original, like 80s retro pop. He said, but this 60s stuff is really going to raise eyebrows. because this really takes people back to the era. So the point I'm making is you had to become a pretty good band because you were working all the time, and you wanted to do the stuff that was on the charts, like The Letter was on the charts, and some bands would gravitate more toward Beatles. We gravitated more toward like Stones and Stones, Hollies.
You were like you pump it up. You had this very rockin'...
We really try to mix it up a lot, and it's proven us well, and I think I remember Bill Cunningham and I were talking one night. It was like, back then, if I had a gig, let's say, in Allentown on a Friday, and my band wasn't available, I could call 3 other guys in town, and we could go out and play a gig because we all knew the songs. Everybody knew The Letter. Everybody knew Hang On Sloopy. Everybody knew Light My Fire. And that's how we got our chops. That's how we developed our chops. It's that simple.
Everybody wanted Mustang Sally and Freebird when we were playing, but
Freebird
and Mustang. But at the end of the night, people want to have it's comfort music, but there's also we're going to close the show with Wipeout finale because it is just that is so classic cool. But there is an interesting thing going between the 2 albums, between Garage Nuggets and then going to Songs About Girls. And fat asses in there too. But anyways,
yes, right, yes.
You guys get to go get the albums, and I do want to give a shout out to Cleopatra Records. We've done a lot of interviews with artists through them, and I just love that they're like making sure the good stuff is protected, man.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, they really are. Matter of fact, we just last week they pulled a single from the Songs About Girls, mainly because of the title, because of what's going on now. The song "Light at the End of the Road," which is a great title, and it's starting to get a little bit of activity. Now, I don't understand all too much of the technical end about Spotify and this and that and how to maximize it, but I'm trying to learn some of that stuff, and at the same time, with the Box Tops now, we're trying to figure out, well, what do we do while we're sitting here for the next 4 months? Because our next scheduled show is not till August, and we don't even know then if shows are going to be playing.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what the industry is going to be like. I mean, I have agents, besides our agency, in California, I have friends who are agents with other big booking agency, and nobody knows what's going to happen. What happens?
Tell me about it.
You have 1,000. Yeah, like now you can only put 300 people in a 1,000-seat venue. So you can't triple the ticket price. So what's going to happen? So we're doing more webinars. We're doing songwriting. Gary's doing a lot of guitar lessons because he's an incredible guitarist. Gary Talley. He's teaching online. I'm doing a lot. As you know, I make pottery.
Right.
That's one of the things I got back into in the last few years because I always wanted to. And, I mean, St. Augustine is a great place. I live like 2-minute walk from the ocean, and I just turned my second bedroom. I just moved my pottery wheel here, so I can't go anywhere. Cool. So I'm making pottery, playing guitar. I got a new dog, and it's like, okay, I'm going to make the best of this, and hopefully financially we can survive until we can work again.
And
it's
weird for us too, being on the road full time. We got
I was going to say,
it's really bizarre. Everywhere you go, we got stuck in 29 Palms, California, which is where we used to live, and right outside Joshua Tree. So it was beautiful. We were at a friend's place. She's like, "Come stay here for a few weeks." We haven't seen each other for like 6 to 8 years or something. And she has an inn, beautiful inn. Shout out to Homestead Inn at 29 Palms. So she's like, "Come here." Next thing you know, we're there for 2 months. And then 3 of them were like, "Jerry, I'm sorry. Like, we didn't mean this. I know, like, normally house guests, you want 2 to 3 days, get out, But
right.
She put up with us. We went to doing live shows every single day. And it was like, we need to get out. and we need to get going. And we had a lovely time, but
There's nowhere to go.
Every town is opening up. We were supposed to be in the Sequoia country. No, this part's closed. This part's open. So every day, like we know, we go to Colorado on Friday. We go to Grand Junction, and from there, don't ask me. I haven't a damn clue because
because you don't know because it really is a big experiment going on. I mean, God willing that this opening up won't cause a spike in cases, and then there'd be a big shutdown. So, everybody, not just music people, but restaurant people, everybody's in the same boat.
Everybody's hurting.
And what we're trying to do is every couple of weeks do a webinar that with Box Tops and new fans and stuff like that, and just keep in touch with everybody because I mean, your fans become your friends. I mean, that's what happens. And the case of the Limits, I mean, these are friends that go back 50 years, and we stay in touch, and so that's kind of always been my. That's kind of always been a barometer for me is like, you can always find, as I was saying earlier, you get a lot of bands that they just get a hired gun who's a great player, a great drummer, a great guitar player, but that doesn't make him or her, that doesn't necessarily make them a band member. I remember a few years ago, it happened twice actually, once with the Box Tops recently, and then once years ago with the Limits. We were doing one of our reunion shows, and a local guy came up and said, God, you guys always had what we all wanted. And I looked, I said, well, we were okay. We weren't great. We never had a great singer. He said, no, but you guys loved each other, and it shows on stage.
Yeah.
You guys loved and people are getting that vibe from the Box Tops because we tell a lot of stories. Bill and Gary have Memphis stories, just to die for, knowing Elvis and Jerry Lee and all that kind of stuff. And then the rest of us with our stories. So matter of fact, one of the things we're working on now, as, if more venues get smaller, is doing, instead of the full 5 of us with horns, is doing a 4-man acoustic show. That we could take into small listening rooms and do, call it the Box Tops Up Close, where we would really tell a lot of stories about, each song, how it developed and things like that. And it's just kind of, keeping it really fresh and, and that's, all that we've been talking about is what led up going back to the book, High in the Mid-60s. How did I get to this? How did I get to Jay and the Techniques? And then I'm in Hong Kong, and Peter Noon asked me to put a band together for him.
See?
And then after, a few, and then that got kind of, I don't even want to say it got kind of weird because Peter and I are good friends, but it was like after a few years, he wanted a different direction, and frankly, I did too, because I was touring with him so much, I couldn't manage any other bands, so I couldn't do so it's weird the way things work out.
Now, I just want to say, when I was in high school and the Hermits came out, the circle of girlfriends, every single one of them had a crush on Peter, and everybody argued over. They thought he looked like an actor, Doug McClure. I know
who Doug McClure is. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think he looks like that? Well, maybe I don't know about now, but that was
a little more. Well, when he was younger, Peter was a little more impish looking. He was a little more impish.
That was the big argument between all the girls. Was they had crushes on both of them, but they were like, they thought they were really twins.
I think it's cool that he played South by Southwest. I watched a YouTube thing of him performing at South by Southwest. I was like, holy crap, look at him. He's off and running. And I loved it.
Well, they asked us it'll be a year in September. They had the 50th anniversary of the Texas International Pop Festival, which was two weeks after Woodstock, but it got overshadowed, obviously. But they asked the Box Tops to play there, and we played with ZZ Top, Grand Funk, John Mayall, John Mayall and Chicago. So it wasn't the typical oldies show, and we want to do more of that because we keep finding, you read the audience pretty well, and there's something about the Memphis sound with the live horns and everything. And we don't do just box top songs. We'll do some covers, some Memphis covers in this show too, that, that really transcends genres. And, so those are things we're thinking about now while we have the time to think about them and stuff like that. And, how far the limits thing is going to go, you never know. I mean, a song could go viral and, I'd have to call the guys in Allentown and say, hey, we got to rehearse for a couple of weeks. We're going to play a couple of shows. And that would be fun. That would be great fun to do.
That's, I want to play a song from Songs About Girls because there's a different production-wise. It's different and a different era.
Absolutely.
What's interesting, there's a song on here that, and it is different. There's a Beach Boys-y vibe to some of the music, Jan and Dean, like, the surf side, but it also kind of, in a way to me, I'm just curious, it's interesting. There, like the song "I Won't Tell." I want to play that because there's a
great,
a hint of country in it, and I want people to hear the versatility and how you just played the letter.
Well, it was really an attempt. Yeah, it was really an attempt. I wrote that song, and it was really an attempt to have a kind of a Stonesy kind of Tom Petty vibe, and the guest drummer on that track was actually Stan Lynch, Tom Petty's first drummer, original drummer.
Oh, wow.
Yahweh.
Cool.
So, and that may be
it. Just put this list up together, like here it is, like it's like you're bumping into every famous, you know what I mean? It's crazy because when you do from our angle, you like here's somebody's press release comes in, it's like this drummer, and then they have to tell you who the drummer performs for. And what I think is important is that everyone, like what you're doing and being on the show talking about everyone, I think it's important that people know the musicians behind the headliner.
Exactly.
Because there ain't anything without them. You know?
Because we're all in the same boat. We all do this because we love it. I mean, the way that session went down is like, I was laying down the slide. If you listen to it, it's a very kind of Keith Richards style of playing guitar.
I love this.
And Stan happened to walk in the studio and he said, "Man, this is good." I said, "Well, and I know him. We're friends." I said, "You want to play drums?" And he said, "Hell yeah!" So it's like, and it's like, and that's the beauty. Everybody thinks it's always about the money and and this and that, and it's I mean, listen, we're losing a lot of money this summer. Don't let me. I'm not trying to underestimate that. All the bands are, and this is the first. I'm 70 years old. This is the first time in my entire life I've applied for unemployment. I don't even know if I'll get it, but I won't tell. It's just funny you mention that because depending how the first single, Light at the End of the Road goes, I'm actually thinking of maybe releasing I Won't Tell as a second single from that album.
Good, because I love this song so much. So just me personally, I got to put my opinions out there because, hey, it's our show. I can do it. And I just got told not to tell my opinions. And I'm like,
you opinionated person.
There it is. I will tell. I was going to say. But I won't tell. Let's play it. I want people to hear this. Is awesome. Here it is, everyone. I Won't Tell again. Songs about girls. The Limits. Go to Cleopatra Records. It's actually through one of their sections called Garage Masters. But here it is. I Won't Tell.
Tell me why there are tears in your eyes. What's the fear that you just can't disguise?
Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, and you just heard I Won't Tell You from the album Songs About Girls, and it's by The Limits, and Rick wrote this, Rick-Levy. Rick, am I saying your name correctly again? Because I'm terrible. I'm sorry. That's why I do radio.
Levy, just perfect. Just perfect.
I got it.
Yep, you
I
got it.
All right, so that song, it's a badass song, and I really hope you do, put it out there as a single, because it just has everything in it. I want to turn it up really loud. Nancy, that's a road trip song.
Yeah,
don't you think?
It is.
It's a good loud playing song. Yeah, and it was just. You know what the funny thing is? It was supposed to be just a demo, and then when we all listened to it, because my voice cracks a couple of times in it, and the engineer just said, screw it, man. It sounds great with your voice cracking.
It's real.
So
It's
pretty authentic. Yeah, it's pretty authentic, and we'll see. I'll talk to the Cleopatra
Guns N'
folks.
Roses too. I'm just saying.
It was a departure from what we normally do, but then again, we've all had so many influences that it's like like you said, there's stuff on the Songs About Girls album that has a very Beach Boys vibe to it, the harmonies, and there's things that are very kind of like early Mersey, Beatle-y things and stuff like that, and because you just take your influences with you. You can't. Anybody who says they're not influenced is just lying. It just happens.
Well, I want to ask you, because we talk about like this whole thing about not being pigeonholed, and here we are doing the blend. Like, hey, you can, right now we look at COVID, this whole drama, and how it has affected the music industry, the hospitality, live music scene. It's really affected this lifestyle. But here's the thing: you're very much like Nancy and I, where, oh no, we want to do all of it. Let's do all this, and then you have to focus.
We like everything.
And so I want to talk about the focus and meditation side, but I feel like having those qualities in our personalities, I think that's what this kind of negative situation always breeds creativity, which can create some positive stuff. Wouldn't you say? By having that side of not being pigeonholed allows you to go, oh yeah, well, we'll take this road over here instead.
Well, yeah, and the real problem is, we're not really, even as kids, most of us aren't taught like coping mechanisms. It's not, and it should be part of our education system. Some of us stumble on it. Yoga, whatever it may be, meditation. It could be whatever, music. But some things that allow us to turn inward, because if you watch the news all day long, you're going to want to slit your wrist.
Yeah,
So it's like it's not a healthy thing, and I remember when I was I guess 18, 19, and I read about, oh man, the Beatles went to India, and Donovan went, and I was big Donovan fan, and Donovan and I have become friends. We did a great show, with the Box Tops. We did a great show in 2018 in Hamburg, Germany, with Donovan and us, and Klaus Voormann, who played with the Beatles, for a while, and Peter Fonda was one of the last things he did before he passed away. And it was a great show, and Donovan, and it just, something sparked in my brain, and I guess a year or two after that, I said, that thing, this transcendental meditation, this TM, I think I'm ready to try it, because, we had that with this subsequent band that I mentioned, Wax, in Philly. We had a big deal for back then. I mean, a lot of money involved, and it went up really fast and it crashed really fast, and we were all really devastated. And people came out of it. Most of us came out of it and went on to really good things in the business. Our managers, myself, Rob Hyman, the keyboard player, great songwriter, wrote Time After Time for Cyndi Lauper. Our drummer ended up being a Grammy-nominated producer. He produced Joan Osborne, Cyndi, other people. And I remember thinking, well, this Beatle thing, this India thing, I started meditating. Now it's, God, 40 some years ago, and I still, meditate 20 minutes twice every day. And, I'm I kind of got pretty strong about those things. I'm a vegetarian personally. I'm into yoga. I don't really care what other people do unless in a professional situation it would affect the performance. And and fortunately, the Box Tops guys are all healthy, health oriented, and we do not play like a nostalgia band. We play like a Memphis rock and soul band, and there's a big difference. A big difference.
I think all bands are. A lot of musicians we interview. It used to be, let's get hammered, trash the hotel room, get stoned, all of that. And
that was weird.
And most of them that we talk to, they're drinking green smoothies in the morning. They're jogging. They're yogaing.
Yeah, you have to because it's we're not 20. The work. I mean, the playing is easy, but the travel is terrible now. It's harder to get everywhere. And it may be even worse if airlines cut down their schedules and things like that. And if you're in, like we have a run in. God willing, in August, all this stuff will be, back to where at least they'll have them, even if the audience are smaller. Where, we've got to go to Chicago, then to Rapid City, South Dakota, then back to Nashville. All in 3 days, and it's more difficult when you're older. So, we're always at the hotel. We'll be down at the gym for part of the morning, and you really have to take care of, you have to take care of yourself. I think so.
The meditation
for sure.
part, I'm very interested in it. We've done so many interviews. There's I can't remember everyone off the top of my head, but we did interview a couple times Norm Rosenthal, Dr.
I know Norman. I know Norman. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been on our show a few times, and he's like, I've been on CNN and stuff, but you guys are trippy. You're going to get the whole thing. But his book, I've read a couple of his books, but Supermind really blew my mind, literally, because it explained how it scientifically works for your brain, your body, your cells, and everything.
Exactly.
It's so cool. I want it in school.
And that's, and I never tell, people ask me and I'll say, well, I happen to do TM because was real fashionable when we were kids and all that stuff. But there's been so many it's been studied more than any other form of meditation for sure. But I mean, I think any kind of mindfulness, any practice that will bring you some centering, like Dr. Rosenthal, there's so much empirical evidence about just the brainwave cohesion and the things that are happening that physically are getting rid of stress in your nervous system. So it's like, it's like having like I used to say, a little vacation twice a day. And I was very lucky. Yeah. I mean, I got to spend a lot of time with Maharishi when he was alive in Europe. I went over there in the 70s and spent months with a lot of people. I mean, Mike Love from the Beach Boys, Al Jardine.
Yeah, he was in it.
These guys are all, they're all still meditating. McCartney came back to meditation, so David Lynch, the filmmaker, is huge, into TM, and again, I'm not, there's a million things that you could do. And, it's like, fine, enjoy your glass of wine. You'll enjoy it more if you've had a nice meditation, and you're relaxed. Instead of, I need to smack these 3 glasses of wine down so I can just sit quietly.
Exactly.
It really should be the other way around. And
for sure.
Have you met Rhoda? It's Rhoda Orm Johnson. Have you
yes,
met?
Well, I've met Rhoda years ago. She's pretty brilliant too. I mean, there's a lot of brilliant doctors who are involved in TM. I mean, it's like, it's no joke. These guys are the best in their field.
Yeah, she is really cool. She came on a show. She wrote a big fat memoir on
Mhm.
her life inside Maharishi's ashram, and it was
Yes.
really interesting because she talked about how it was important. And I love this part because it's not necessarily. And I think that sometimes TM and we talk about Maharishi. Everyone thinks, okay, now you're going to be dancing around in an orange robe, or like you're going to be in
Right.
Scientology, or it's not. And it's
It's
just
not like
there
that.
is scientific evidence. And he was like, you need to teachers have to be paid to keep it sustainable. So he brought this thing in like this needs to, if there's money is not involved, it becomes woo woo almost. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
Like he
exactly
wanted,
that's
yeah.
exact, and it's a big organization. And he also always said that the purpose of meditating isn't meditation; it's the life you live after you meditate.
Right.
It's what you're doing with your life, what you're accomplishing. So if you can, it's kind of like, 'cause, the analogy that, is like, well, like if you pull an arrow back on a bow, someone who doesn't know what archery would go, well, why are you pulling it back if you want it to go forward? Well, you're kind of setting up the proper conditions to move forward. So that's the whole thing. You wake up in the morning, you sit up in bed or a chair, you do your 20 minutes, then you do your day. You don't even think about it, man. You don't even think about it. Just that you're just doing it, And I mean, I find myself now that because we're all kind of locked up, they're having some great seminars on the internet and everything, and so for me, it's kind of a nice, welcoming home or welcoming back with a lot of people that I haven't seen, for a while, but like the last time I saw Mike Love, I mean, he knows who I am. I mean, he's an icon and everything. But once we started talking, he goes, "Oh man, yeah, remember that GM course we were on together in 1982 and blah blah blah." And it's just really nice and
you guys meditate together too. Like normally we'll go,
we
hey,
can.
let's all
Sure.
go have wine together. You guys have this like communal meditating. So that's what Norma was saying. I'm like, what? You guys are all like tripping out together. I'm like, what is like? Are you?
Yeah, well, basically. Yeah, basically, and I am an absolute advocate of anybody doing whatever they want to do. Whatever works for you works for you. That's fine. I don't proselytize or tell people what to do. But I know myself that as a singer, as a player, as an athlete, I am in better shape than I was 25 years ago.
That's sweet.
I know it.
When
impressive.
When you play music, and because you're like we're going back to the whole thing when you have multiple fires on the stove, right, or multiple pots on the stove, or whatever you want to say, but there's all these things going. We all have that, and through TM, and then you think about you doing pottery and music. Do you get in the zone? Like, does meditation and yoga help you be in that zone? Because like when we're writing or photography, which is a lot of what I do, I get in this zone and it's like nothing is in me, like inside my head, or it shouldn't be, except for that exact thing that you're doing. So does
total focus.
Yeah, like music.
Yeah, and
everybody
gets that way, spontaneously once in a while. I mean, I remember the first time, and I didn't know what it was because I was 14 or 15. But I remember the club, the Purple Owl in Allentown, PA. I remember playing with the Limits, and I remember a space of time going by that I could not account for, but I was still playing. I didn't make any mistakes. I wasn't doing any drugs at that time in my life or anything. And then years later, when I started meditating and started experiencing that inner silence, I said, "Oh shit, man, this happened to me when I was, spontaneously." So the beauty of any practice, whether it's a yogic thing or something, is we can cultivate that ability we can almost call on that silence even in the midst of activity. That's the beauty of it, that no matter what's going on around us, you can, and we see it in certain leaders who have that. We see it in certain leaders who definitely don't have it. Like there's always disorder and chaos. And then you see some people, some speakers, some, whatever, in the midst of whatever's going on, you sense there's some like anchor inside them.
Yeah.
And it can be organized religion. It can be anything, and it's, I think it's part of the, I guess what I'm saying is I think it's part of the human experience. When I start writing a song, you just go into it and then you start zoning out. And then the next thing you know, you've got like 2 verses written. And, and I don't even know if I'm ever going to record again. I don't know what's going to be, down the pike. But, right now I'm just
going to be
like,
something.
And right now it's like, people enjoying this limit stuff, which really was a labor of love, because it was never intended. We wanted to be, we wanted a deal, we wanted this, we all did when we were kids, but it really, because it was, we were friends that, we loved each other, and those remaining of us, we still do. We're best friends, and so if you can carry that with you, it's just, I feel very, 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 very lucky. I try to instill that in my son, and he's also in the arts. I'm good, but he's great. He's a special effects makeup artist, and
sweet, cool.
He does, he does stuff for Marvel and all the biggies. Yeah. But he meditates every day, and so it's like, and especially when we don't know where things are going, it's nice to have that little bit of an anchor, with us. Yeah. And so now it's like, personally where my challenges are, other than financial ones, but I'm not going to starve. I'll get through this. I don't have a worry about that. But so now it's like, okay, make sure the Box Tops, when we go back on the road, that we're going to be in absolutely tip-top form. So we're all on the same page about that. Even if we, let's say we haven't played since March. That was the last gig, and after that, everything was. So it's April, May, June, July. It could be 5 months before we play again. So even if we have to meet somewhere, a couple of days before the next concert and rehearse, we'll do that.
Yeah,
just fine tune the equipment. So that's something we want to do. I'm having a blast with the limits stuff, because I am literally. Every time like when you played that letter, and I know when you play the Wipeout thing, I'm going to be transported to being 15 years old again.
Nancy's going to love the Wipeout. Hey, listen, can we give a shout out? I want to give a shout out. I know this is, I just have to do this. Today's May 11th, and it is Eric Burton's birthday, so I want to give him a shout out. We're talking about the 60s. Well,
right. And Saturday was May 9th was Tommy Rowe's birthday. So, and Tommy's like, really one of my best friends in the whole wide world. He's retired for now. Hopefully he'll come back. His wife's been ill, so I think depending on what happens with that, maybe he'll want to play some dates again. We got to
celebrate the birth, because we lost little Richard. Too.
Yeah.
That's the sad
I know, and that's why the music's got to stay alive. And it will, because you hardly find a young band that somewhere in their show doesn't do a 60s cover. They might do a Beatles tune, they might do a Stones tune, they might do an obscure one, but if you're a serious musician at whatever age, you end up going back into the roots. Where did it come from? And where does that eventually take you? Beatles, Stones, but it eventually takes you through Memphis and Chicago and the black, blues and country and rockabilly. You got to get there. So it's, I don't fear that it's going to go away.
I want to thank the internet for that, because I think with YouTube, what's amazing is you get to see, Nancy and I, over the years, we have this thing called Music Night, depending on where we are, and especially when we're in the middle of production of a magazine. We stop, we go, okay, we pick a word for the day, and we go through the letters, and we go and we watch YouTube concerts of bands, and with the
So
with the
much
letters
fun.
go with the name of the song.
It's so much
And so,
fun.
like, you watch the letter, you can see the letter, you can see bands perform, and I wasn't around at that time, but you get to see them perform, and you see style. And there's something about, from the 40s through the 50s, 60s, 70s, you can watch. You look at like bands like the Temptations, and how they
Absolutely.
dressed and moved. There's something
Absolutely,
that was
man.
like when they walked on stage, it was like there was this presence, stage presence, that I think if you're going to do anything now, you need to go back and look at stage presence through the 60s.
Well, yeah. I remember, when the first quote unquote hit group that I started working with, and managing and playing with was Jay and the Techniques, who had Apple Peaches, Pumpkin Pie, and all that. And that was always an integrated band. There were two black front singers, and the band was white. And that was always the way it was. But I remember Jay say something in the early on. He said, "Don't go on stage looking like you belong in the audience."
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean you have to be in sequins or whatever. But now so many bands come on and they just got ripped jeans and a T-shirt, and it's like, it's like, you got to do what's comfortable for you. And I mean, we don't dress up in the Box Tops, but we have a look that now people are identifying with us in the Box Tops, and it's fits our personalities, and it's a little bit calculated. It took some time.
But that's what people want. They want the band to be different than them.
Yeah,
They want to.
Exactly.
You're at his show, and you want to see his show.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, and you're always, we're always learning. I mean, there's a great Box Tops song that was, I don't know if it was their fourth or fifth single or something. It's called Neon Rainbow. And it was almost like a flower power song. And, one day we were playing it, and one of the guys suggested to me, it would be really cool to have a ukulele in this song, because it had that kind of feel in the record. And doggone it, I got a ukulele and I learned how to play that song.
See,
so,
I like this about you. I really like this. You're industrious. You are.
Well,
Well,
everybody. I mean, fortunately, in the Box Tops, everybody is. Some bands you have one or two guys are, but one of the things that we try to do is not only sonically change the songs, but visually change it up. So if you're playing, because a lot of times, let's say you have three bands on a bill, well, you're only going to play a half an hour. So if it's the same guy singing every song and the same stage set, that can get a little boring unless you're like Mick Jagger, who's so unbelievable. But so we'll do a thing where, Gary sings a lead, Bill sings lead on certain songs, I sing lead, Bill will go from bass to keyboards, I'll go from guitar to bass, so visually the stage is moving around while we're playing it. We're giving them like a painting visually along with the sonic painting too.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
It's I love it, and it's making me miss that we're not playing as much as we should be now, but you know what, doggone it, everybody there, there's bigger things, and everybody's got to get healthy first. That's the main thing. That's really the main thing.
But before we go, I wanted to ask you one thing. I have to bring it up, Bo Diddley, because he's legendary with that rhythm, and he is like, talk about being in the zone. Like the Bo Diddley rhythm is the zone, and there's no one else like him. I mean, he is.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Your relationship.
Well, I got to know him. I didn't play with him that much, but I got to know him because he only lived about an hour and a half from here, and through a mutual friend. At one point, I was going to get involved with. Putting a stable band for him together, because guys like him and Chuck Berry, they always just use pickup bands. They went into a town and they used to, and that's how I first met him. And but I guess I went to his house. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times, and we would just. He was just so kind, so nice. I mean, he was just. He didn't think anything about him being Bo Diddley. I mean, you walk in and there's pictures, just laying around all over with like every president, and gold records all over the place. And, he just wanted to play his music. And unfortunately, like so many, he got screwed out of all his money and, and which was, a major thing with all the 60s and 70s artists.
Even B.B. King, like he just wanted to play until his last day. He just kept playing.
Yeah. Play until he couldn't play anymore. I mean, none of us when we started doing this could possibly imagine that, we could do a show, let's say it's like, we just did some shows, Peter Noon, Chris Montez, the Box Tops, 1 or 2 other people, and every night was like 3,000 people. It's like 50 years later. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is the songs are so good. The songs are so strong that they just don't go away, And I question whether a lot of the modern music will last 50 years. I really don't think most of it will.
Well, there's something about
don't.
the songs from the 60s where it's about Nancy. We talk about this. Nancy's like it's about you when you first hear it. There's a catch to it. You have to have that catchiness. And I feel like sometimes you turn the radio on. It's like there's no melody. Where's the melody?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's
right.
The words?
Yeah. In the business, it's called. You say catch. In the business, it's called a hook. You got to hook the people.
Hook.
And and the hook can be a vocal hook, a lyrical hook, or an instrumental hook, and and it immediately. Like it, instances that come to mind in the Box Tops, it's that beginning, bop, 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 bop. As soon as you hear those 5 snare drum hits, it's the letter. In a Stone song, Satisfaction, bam, dan, da, 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 universally known. The entire planet knows that.
As the audience, it's like, oh my God, this is happening. Get
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it doesn't matter if it's
the band.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's the Stones or a bar band doing it. They love the songs. Because I have a local trio. I have a trio that plays locally when we're not out, and we do all
cool.
60s stuff. And we when you come to St. Augustine.
Oh,
yeah. You let us know. This is a great town. You would love this place. This is an amazing town. A lot of talent here. And it's just opening up. I don't know when we'll be playing locally because they haven't figured out all the distancing in the venues yet. But yeah, there's a lot of it. A lot of that, and of course, the history in St. Augustine is very, very prevalent. The Spanish, the French, the English, and the beaches are beautiful too. So it's a good place to live. It's a really good place to live.
Yeah, the oldest city.
So,
I know a couple of our travel writers have been there, and we used to live in Florida. We lived in the Panhandle, and Nancy was in West Palm, Melbourne, all that area. So, and we got to go see our friends.
You know St. Augustine, so it's it's a good thing. So I know you're going to play this Wipeout thing, and I can't wait to hear it because
me too.
All right, you ready?
That was let me just remind people, guys. First of all, thank you, guys. My website is ricklevy.com. The book is on there, and for the limit stuff, just go to any of the the internet platforms, Spotify, and just put the Limits Garage Nuggets or the Limits Songs About Girls, and all these 60s gems will just pop up, and you'll laugh because we make a lot of mistakes, but that's part of rock and roll. That's okay.
It is a magic mystery tour. By the way, When the Magic Goes is another good one. That's like, that's a woo woo. There's a this is. I know it's so funny. There's everyone just go put it in and go get it because it will take you back, and at the same time you'll hear new songs. I love it. It's awesome stuff. So ricklevy.com. Also, Amazon, all those places. We want to thank the Yarrington Inn here for putting up with us. That's what we always have to say to all the hotels that, have to put up with us doing radio shows out of hotel rooms, because we're a little loud. So YarringtonInn.com, check it out. And, of course, keep up with us at Big Blend Radio. We're here at BigBlendRadio.com. And here it is. We're going to play a Wipeout because it's cool. And listen, Rick, I think you should write a book.
Oh, it so happened. High in the mid-60s. High in the mid-60s is the name of the book. If you Google it, if you Google my name in Amazon, it comes right up. So it's really, really simple.
Group. I'm gonna
I do. I have a Facebook. Yeah. I also have an Instagram. Instagram is Rick-Levy Music. So
awesome.
Join, follow. Come on to Facebook. And this Wipeout was recorded in this finale in June of 1967.
Wow. Take care, Rick.
That's how old it is.
Wow. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. It's been wonderful.
All right, we'll be back.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Come on. All right, you asked for it, and here they are once more, The Limit. One, two, three, four. Hold it. Remember, although this is our last job, the mod mill continues. I don't know how, but it continues.